The Soviet Union B-59 submarine of the was ready for a stealth attack just a few kilometers underwater in the Caribbean Sea. The U.S. Navy learned of the disaster and fired small bombs underwater to bring the submarine up. The captain of the Soviet submarine, which had lost contact with the headquarters thousands of kilometers away, felt that the war might be over, and now was the time to launch nuclear torpedo missiles. It was a time when tensions between the US and the Soviet Union were at an all-time high, and thousands of nuclear missiles from both countries were just a button press away. The Soviet submarine captain was just about to press the nuclear missile button when something suddenly happened that saved the world from destruction. Once upon a time, viewers, the event took place in the middle of the 12 days of Aethys as the US-Soviet Cold War was spiraling out of control. What happened was that in World War II, the whole world saw the side effects of the nuclear attack on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the dangerous appearance of America. If anyone could match America's power, it was the Soviet Union. Because immediately after World War II, the Soviet Union was the second country to acquire nuclear technology. By carrying out several nuclear tests, they indirectly signaled to America that we are not a Japan that would sit quietly in the wake of attacks. This was the period when the Cold War was going on between the United States and the Soviet Union. Both countries kept their nuclear weapons ready against each other at all times. Then, whether the attack is to be done by land, air, or sea. The world knew very well that if either of the two initiated a nuclear attack, the next country would respond with nuclear missiles, and the resulting destruction would be much more terrible than Japan's nuclear attacks. So much so that it was believed that perhaps 70% of the world's human population would be exposed to it. To make these attacks more effective, American and Soviet bomber aircraft were in the air at all times. Their nuclear submarines were also hidden from each other in international waters, waiting only for a signal. Apart from this, America has also installed its nuclear weapons in Turkey and Italy. Because these two countries were NATO allies and were very close to the border of the Soviet Union. This made America's position stronger, as it would be easier to attack the western part of the Soviet Union from here. But when this news came to the Soviet Union, they also decided to stall their nuclear weapons near America. The best spot for this work was none other than the island of Cuba, located only 200 kilometers southeast of the United States. At that time, there was a pro-communist government in Cuba, which was not acceptable to the United States. In the eyes of the United States, Cuba was the ally of the Soviet Union because the Soviet Union was actually the stronghold of communism. Communism means that all businesses will be controlled by the government and everyone will get an equal share. That is, there will not be classes like rich or poor in the society. While the US wanted a capitalist system to operate throughout the world, a kind of free market to do business and generate its own profit. The United States wanted to invade Cuba and bring a capitalist system there as well. But Cuban President Fidel Castro had the support of the Soviet Union, which also supplied Cuba with weapons. But in order to build good relations with Cuba, the Soviet Union was thinking of something else. Then Soviet President Nikita Khrushchev struck a secret deal with Cuban President Fidel Castro in which the Soviet Union would install its intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, in Cuba in exchange for Cuba's surrender to the United States. We'll also play against the attack of, but the second advantage was that under this pretext, Soviet nuclear warheads would be able to hit the South American region easily. Started installing at different locations. But this news became a rumor and spread throughout America. Panic spread that Soviet nuclear missiles had been installed in Cuba, just 200 kilometers from Florida. That all these reports are baseless, but in search of the truth.